Hi, everyone. I am Justin Golston, and I am honored to be joining you all to discuss two areas in which I am very passionate about. I also will try to include my third passion in terms of technology, but we'll see how that goes. Uh, I will be discussing auditing sustainability within the industry. And to give you a little bit of additional information on myself, I spent a number of years within the primarily working with manufacturers and distributors on digital transformations, on business process improvement initiatives. And from there, I took that knowledge, that practical experience, and transferred within higher education. And over the years, I have developed supply chain programs as well as courses in the areas of supply chain management, operations management, and sustainability, and to bring in the current developments of sustainable practices within organizations. So as I began my journey at Penn State here in the fall, I was approached by Dr. Paul Shristava, and he asked me if I would join the fight, if you will, in sustainability at the Sustainability Institute at Penn State. Now, once I accepted, then he asked the question of, okay, how are we able to help your research progression, as well as your practice within operations management, supply chain management, and within business itself? So I explained to him that there's a gap in the research as it pertains to sustainability. I think that yes, we talk a lot about corporate social responsibility, and as I was developing a number of corporate social responsibility courses, I came to the realization that I was a part of the problem. In that, whenever future leaders think of corporate social responsibility, they think that it's the responsibility of these Fortune 100 companies to institute these sustainable practices. So one approach that I've explained to the Sustainability Institute is that we need to remove the corporate out of corporate social responsibility, because it is everyone's responsibility. So we are doing a lot of research on sustainability practices in small and medium enterprises, because there is a gap in the research in small and medium enterprises, because we look at sustainability from the Unilevers, from the Levi's, from the IKEAs, and yes, they have excellent sustainability practices, but is that transferable to these small and medium enterprises? Okay. So we're doing a lot of research at the Sustainability Institute in terms of, how do these sustainable practices affect us, all of us? Okay. So I would say one of the most recent and it's insightful studies within the supply chain sustainability practice was conducted by the MIT Center for Transportation and Logistics in collaboration with the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. I would like to thank Dr. Alexis Bateman on sharing this information. She is the director of sustainable supply chains at MIT. We have been in discussion back and forth, so I look forward to hopefully collaborating with Dr. Bateman in the future on some supply chain sustainability projects. So they performed a study, what they refer to as the 2020 State of Supply Chain Sustainability. So if you were to Google 2020 State of Supply Chain Sustainability, you will see that report. It's also important to note that they are currently performing the 2021 state of supply chain sustainability. So I am interested to see the results of that study with the inclusion of the current pandemic and how the pandemic has had an impact on sustainability within the industry. So within the 2020 State of Supply Chain Sustainability survey, there were a number of interesting findings. But from my perspective, the top three um, um, summaries or conclusions that were noted, that were found, was that organization. So let me back up and say that this survey was surveyed 1,100 respondents from around the world. Okay, so I do have to say that where this study was not only focused within the United States, it was based on 11 respondents from around the world. And the three big takeaways from my perspective from this report was that the respondents said that their organizations focus on social over the environmental targets. Whenever you have an established sustainability program, they look at the social aspects as opposed to the environmental aspects. Okay. Also, those respondents said that whenever a sustainability process was instituted or announced within the organization, they felt that they were pressured to initiate that sustainability initiative. Now, from the outside looking in, they say that they were almost forced to initiate a sustainability program as opposed to initiating a sustainability program because it's the right thing to do. Okay, that was another interesting finding for me. Another interesting finding in this report was that they noted that over 40% of the respondents said that they disclose sustainability practices. But it's also important to note that these 40 respondents said that they published, some of the respondents said that they prefer to publish these practices on platforms in which they had control over. So that means the company's websites, that means within white papers, that means within press releases. And they were less willing to publish within these reports that have been established for sustainability standards, such as the Global Reporting Initiative. That's why these reports were created. They were created to create the standard, the framework for sustainable practices. But within this survey, some of the respondents said that they are still hesitant to report within those standardized reports. So my question is why? The question is why, and that leads me to, okay, if you're hesitant, so in these bullets, if you're pressured to adopt sustainable practices, and you're not establishing these sustainability practices for good, if you report on your practices, are you reporting just to appease the consumer? Okay. If you're reporting just to appease the consumer, are you finding loopholes? Are you looking for loopholes? Right? Because we do not audit these sustainable practices, we can't answer that question at this given point in time. Right? If only 40% of respondents disclose their sustainability practices, and you prefer those outlets you control, the question is why. And I think that the biggest thing, the most important thing that we need to discuss is that the consumers of organizations are going to be controlling organization strategies. If you're going to disclose your sustainability practices, you're going to have consumers who say, okay, prove it. And in some cases, so if we continue on, so this was the research from MIT and CSCMP. Now, to confirm another study, this study is a separate study and it's almost aligned with that. So this one was performed in 2019. The MIT study was performed in 2020, and it's almost identical, you know, in terms of the percentages of companies that disclose sustainability practices. So it's important to note that, you know, it's around 40% of organizations are only 40% are disclosing their sustainability practices. Okay, again, goes back to why. Also, so if we look at it from an Asia Pacific perspective, we can see by country, Japan performs the highest percentage of reporting, and we have seen in some Asian Pacific countries that some of those countries do have mandatory corporate social responsibility reporting. They are mandated to report their sustainable practices. Okay, now again, you have to report your sustainable practices. You are not required to audit your sustainable practices, but you're required to report your sustainable practices. So again, that goes back to, you have to prove it. Okay, so in terms of that prove it aspect, in that same study, it was found that only 32% of those organizations that do report, only 32% have external audits, third-party audits. Okay, so I think that is one thing that needs to be focused on. There is additional research that we're currently performing at Penn State on the impact of these external audits. Do these external audits have a positive impact on these greenwashing efforts within the supply chain area? You know, and that's one thing that I feel that's very important. And also, if you look at the issue of why do so many organizations not, you know, follow up with these sustainable practices? So if you look at this study and you look at the return on investment for sustainability initiatives, there are only 31% within the Asia Pacific region that measure the return on investment for sustainability. There are only 24% within Europe that are measuring their ROI. 37% in the US that are measuring ROI. So with me, that says, okay, if you're investing the millions of dollars in these sustainability efforts, and you're not measuring your return on investment, are you doing it for the positive impact on the world, for the positive impact on the society, or are you doing it for marketing purposes? Again, it goes back to the why. Now, another area that is important to note is that this study was focused only on corporate brands. So if we include small and medium organizations, the question is, do these numbers change? Right? In my opinion, I think that these ROI numbers go down. Right? But if these large organizations, if we've seen an increase in that return on investment measurement by these large organizations, and they see truly how much the return on investment is for these sustainable practices, then I think that, and they publish that, I think that more organizations would adopt it globally. I think that you would see more small and medium organizations adopt these sustainable practices globally. And I think that that's the real opportunity within the industry. And that's the data we're collecting at Penn State to show the positive impacts on sustainability, the positive impacts on triple bottom line, you know, how the sustainability can lead to a competitive advantage within organizations. Okay, so again, from the auditing perspective, the question is, how do we perform these audits? How do we track these audits? How do we perform these third-party audits? And I said I was going to go to technology. So there's one organization, and full disclosure, I am not in any way affiliated with Visible. I just found an application that I've been looking for a very long time of, how can we integrate a solution in ERP applications, or how can we have a standalone sustainability application? And this is one example that this organization called Visible is creating a sustainability application, a sustainability tool to track and trace your sustainability efforts internally and externally. Okay, so for example, I can create that strategic sustainability plan, and you're going to see more and more of these strategic sustainability plans arise, because, as I said, the spending of consumers are shifting to the millennials, they're shifting to the Gen Zs, and the buying behaviors of that demographic is changing. It's changing the business landscape. And because sustainability is very important to those individuals, that's going to force organizations to rethink their strategies. And sustainability is going to have to be a part of those strategies. Okay, so one example is, again, this collaboration tool. It can track that internal strategy. You can also track your collaboration strategies with your business partners. And again, you can track and trace and measure those sustainability efforts, because, again, that's another gap within the industry of, we're not measuring the sustainability efforts. And now we have tools. Again, this is just one of those tools to measure sustainability. Now, from a technology perspective, in terms of a auditing perspective, we're going to see an increased use of emerging technologies such as blockchain. Because blockchain provides that transparency, because blockchain provides that visibility, I see blockchain as being a viable tool of a solution to contribute to addressing this auditing problem. So, for example, if I were able to put every single business partner on my blockchain, and I was able to make that a permissionless blockchain. So a permissionless blockchain is that I can log into this blockchain at any given time. Any person can log into the blockchain at any given time and track and trace a lot number from birth to disposal, or birth to reusage. Right. So if we talk about circular economies, we can put a circular economy on a blockchain. And now we have that auditing. Now we have that tracking and tracing. So I think that technology is going to be a major player in the auditing of supply chains, in the auditing of materials throughout an organization's supply chain. And although that is the future state, that may be years in the future for certain organizations, there are a few key takeaways in the short term. So how do we develop short-term sustainability auditing strategies? And I think that the first step is to indeed start somewhere. You can start with, where do I stand? Where does my organization stand from a sustainability perspective? Given that you're not going to be able to address every single sustainability initiative in every single sustainability process, focus on the most important to your people. Focus on the most important to your consumers. Okay, so you have to start somewhere. Pick the top one or two. But the most important piece is to start somewhere. Okay. Also a key takeaway, a short-term key takeaway, is to address your stakeholders' sustainability maturity. Look at your business partners. Look at your suppliers. Where are your suppliers at in terms of sustainability? Okay, what are their long-term sustainability strategies? Because their sustainability strategies are going to positively or negatively impact you as well. So assess your business partner's sustainability maturity. Also, develop that sustainability management plan. So that sustainability roadmap, and within that sustainability roadmap, you also should include what does that audit roadmap look like? How am I going to track and trace uh, 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 sustainability throughout my supply chains? Okay. And also begin the conversation with your stakeholders of this sustainability initiative. And then finally, as I noted before, please remove that corporate mindset from corporate social responsibility, in that it is everyone's responsibility. Thank you for your time. If you would like to discuss sustainability, supply chain management, and technology within sustainability further, I can be reached at jlg566@psu.edu, as well as I can be reached on LinkedIn. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to collaborating with you all, to speaking with you all during this conference. Thank you.